There was once a wealthy merchant named Dhanapala who lived in a prosperous town near the banks of the Ganges. He was known for his fine clothes, large house, and thriving business. Yet, despite his riches, he was never content. Whenever something went wrong in his life, he found someone to blame. A passing monk, noticing his troubled expression, paused and asked, "Why do you look so disturbed, good sir?" If his business suffered losses, he would blame his workers. If his health declined, he would accuse the food sellers. If his friends avoided him, he would claim they were jealous. He believed that all his problems were caused by others, never once considering that his own actions or attitude might be at fault. The next morning, he decided to visit the grove. One year, a severe drought struck the land. Crops failed, and trade slowed. There was a calmness around the Buddha that Dhanapala had never seen before. It was as though nothing in the world could disturb his peace. Dhanapala's profits decreased, and he grew angrier by the day. Imagine Dhanapala that a man was struck by an arrow. Instead of removing the arrow, he begins to shout at everyone around him, blaming the archer, the wind, even the bow. Would his pain lessen by blaming others, or would it only grow worse? If my workers were better, if my family supported me, if my friends were loyal, I would have no troubles. "Venerable sir," he began, "I am troubled. My life is filled with difficulties, and I feel that everyone around me is to blame." He felt as if the Buddha's words had pierced through all his excuses and touched something deep within him. His pain would grow worse. "Of course," he admitted, "no one understands me, and I'm always left to struggle." When anger arises, ask yourself, is it truly the fault of another, or is it my own mind that clings to expectations? Whenever anger rose within him, he would pause and ask himself. He no longer saw the world as cruel and hostile, but as a place of constant change where peace could be found through understanding and compassion. His business flourished again, not because he forced others to work harder, but because his calm and kind nature inspired those around him. Is this anger truly caused by others, or by my own mind? He had learned the greatest truth of all, that peace begins within. Slowly, he learned to let go of blame. He began to treat his workers with kindness and respect, to speak gently to his family, and to stop quarreling with his friends. He had spent years blaming others without seeing his own pride, greed, and anger. That day, he made a vow to change. When greed arises, ask, will more wealth or blame bring me peace? Practice mindfulness, watch your thoughts, and learn to let go of the idea that the world must bend to your will. Peace is not found by changing others, but by changing yourself. "Venerable sir," he said, "I used to blame everyone for my suffering, but now I see the truth. The world is not my enemy. My own mind was the enemy, and you have shown me how to tame it. I am deeply grateful. Tell me, why is the world so cruel to me?" He scolded his workers harshly, accusing them of laziness. "Everything in my life is falling apart," he said bitterly. "By blaming others, you refuse to see the true cause of your suffering. Do you know what that cause is? When a man stops blaming others and begins to see clearly, he walks the path to freedom. Greed, anger, and ignorance dwell within you. When things go well, you cling to them, hoping they will last forever. When things go wrong, you push them away and blame others. But life is not under your control. The world changes, people change, and fortune changes. If you wish to find peace, you must first take responsibility for your own mind and actions. My workers are lazy, my friends are ungrateful, and my family doesn't respect me. The world is filled with selfish people, and no one cares about me." He argued with his wife, claiming she spent too much money. He even quarreled with the townspeople, blaming them for not supporting his business enough. His mind became restless, and his heart heavy with bitterness. One evening, after losing a large sum of money in a failed deal, Dhanapala sat outside his house, fuming with rage. Dhanapala, eager to complain, poured out his frustrations. The monk listened patiently and then said softly, "Perhaps it is not the world that is at fault. Perhaps the trouble lies within you." Dhanapala glared at the monk. "Within me? How dare you say such a thing? I work harder than anyone. I earn more than anyone, and still I suffer. How could the fault be mine? If you are willing, there is one who can show you the truth of the Buddha. He is staying in the nearby grove. Speak with him, and you may find the answers you seek." The monk smiled gently and replied, "I do not mean to offend you, but I have learned that the root of suffering often lies in our own mind." Dhanapala, though skeptical, was curious. He had heard of the Buddha, a teacher said to possess great wisdom and compassion. When he arrived, he saw the Buddha seated under a tree, surrounded by monks and lay people who listened silently as he spoke. After the talk ended, Dhanapala approached and bowed slightly. The Buddha looked at him with kind eyes and asked, "Tell me, Dhanapala, do you always blame others when misfortune comes?" "Yes," Dhanapala replied, "because they are the cause of my suffering." The Buddha remained silent for a moment and then said. Dhanapala frowned, unsure where the Buddha was leading. "Just so," the Buddha continued, "your anger and blame are like arrows you keep driving deeper into your own heart." Dhanapala shook his head. "It is your own mind," the Buddha said gently. The merchant was struck silent. No one had ever spoken to him like this before. "But how can I do this?" Dhanapala asked softly. How can I stop blaming others? Begin by looking within, the Buddha said. Dhanapala lowered his eyes, realizing for the first time that his misery had been created by his own mind. He began to visit the Buddha often, listening to his teachings and practicing mindfulness. Months passed, and Dhanapala felt a new lightness in his heart. One day, he returned to the Buddha and bowed deeply. The Buddha smiled and replied, "You have understood well done." From that day onward, Dhanapala lived with wisdom and compassion, never again falling into the trap of blame.